Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizano. This is episode 303, 4, something like that. The world famous, the University Love, the best podcast in 1, 2, 3 galaxies. But ladies and gentlemen, you and I, we just call it Online Marketing Moves. We are coming to you live today. Today is June the 12th, 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, we have back-to-back birthdays in my family. Today is my nephew's birthday. He is 19 years old, ladies and gentlemen. I remember when this young gentleman was a baby. All right. One of the best things my dad ever said one time. My mom, she was at the hospital. We lived 5 minutes from the hospital. I remember my mom called June 12th, 2002. And me and my dad, we was eating leftover pork chops, sitting at the table. And my mom called and she said, the baby was here. The baby's here. And my dad said, well, the baby ain't going nowhere now, Dorita. And so we're going to eat and we'll be there shortly. And I laughed and my dad laughed. And he said, what she think? We about to jump up and just run over there? And I was like, baby, he's not going anywhere. And he's 19 now. It's been a great ride. We've had a lot of fun. I remember he was like 3 when I moved to Atlanta, and it's been nice to come back and see him grow and grow and grow. And then tomorrow is my niece's birthday. She's gonna be 3 years old. She doesn't like me very much, but she loves my wife. She loves my wife to death. I always laugh. I go, any love for Uncle Tone? Any love for old Uncle Tony? She's like, no, no, no. I'm like, well, I'll be all righty. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, what are your plans today? You know what? Me and my wife, we're about to start having, the marching to the baby, everybody. The marching to the baby. August is around the corner. And so in a couple of weeks, we're going to have people come. My wife is going to have some little kind of virtual get together. So it's gonna be like 2 people come over. I hope they've been vaccinated so they can hang out. I guess I don't know. It's so funny to me. I don't know about you, but you hear a lot of people complain about the government, but yet when the government was like, "Hey, everybody, you don't got to wear a mask if you've been vaccinated," people just like, "Whoop whoop whoop, let me take these masks off," and it's like, on one hand, you say you don't trust the government, but yet as soon as they tell you to do something, you just sort of jump up and do it, Me, myself, I got vaccinated only because my mom, my aunt, they bother me, harassing me. I'm like, all right, if they clone me, then I'm blaming somebody. I'm blaming you. And I'm like, look, Ma, if I get sick, I'm blaming you as well. And of course, what happened? I'm like, oh, Lord. How do you go from not having symptoms to all of a sudden you take a shot and now you're like, oh, I'm woozy. But I can talk about my mom now because she doesn't listen to the show, which is cool with me. All right. But I will say this. We've had a rise in listenership, a rise in viewers, and you are greatly appreciated. Thank you for listening, and please stick around. We are going to get better and better with the show, and I keep saying this, but I say we're gonna start getting guests. I gotta really hunker down and start writing people and getting guests. And I actually probably need to put myself out there and become a guest on other people's show so they can hear the magic that we all hear every day, and we can get more people band together, join the movement, join the community. But we'll get all that, and in the meantime and in between time, I don't know why I like saying that so much, but I do. But today we are going to talk about a couple of different things. First thing we're going to discuss is learn the tax law. I want you, we talked about this the other day. We talked about you making $600 and you filing paperwork and all that kind of stuff. But you really, honestly, truly, either learn the tax law or find somebody that knows the tax law. Like, because it doesn't matter who's in charge. It doesn't matter. Republicans, Democrats, that don't matter because they are all starting to give small businesses, small people to run around the business. You know what I mean? Like I read some of Joe Biden's plan about taxing businesses, and a lot of that stuff is going to be taxed because there's the Amazon in the Amazons in the world. They could take a big, if they charge them, if they tell Amazon, hey, all your workers should be getting paid $15, $20 an hour. That's great for Amazon because they make billions and billions of dollars. But for you, if you run a small business and you have like 3 employees and one of them works like part-time, works like maybe 10, 20 hours a week, and they might do stuff that's not, they might do stuff to help out, but they don't do like a heck of a lot. And then you're forced to pay them at minimum $15 when, you might, it depends on the kind of business, you might not be generating that kind of money and they want you to pay $15 an hour. And it's like, it's kind of rough, not only the $15 an hour thing, it's the taxes. It's like the taxes that they want to charge, they want to charge people all this 30%, 35%, taxes and all that kind of stuff. So really know the tax law because once again, all these companies like Apple and Amazon, they hardly pay taxes. Like it's and people get upset, but it's not illegal. It's very legal. And the more you know about the law, the more that you can I'm not even gonna say get away, but the more that you won't have to pay out, in taxes, because taxes are like the highest bill you're gonna get, besides your light bill, No, but honestly, like taxes they tax the heck out of you. I mean, now when like here in America, I can't speak for the rest of the world, but I know here, like if you're single, you kind of get punished for being single and not having any children because they want to charge you like 25%, 30% of your money, unless you file, if you try to file under a different tax bracket, then you still make a lot of money. They're going to come after you. They're either going to get your money now, they're going to get your money later. So you definitely want to, start learning the law, learning about taxes, learning how you can, donate money. And then, because if you donate money, you don't have to worry about taxes. You can always write that off. And my mom one time told me something that was I was like, you got to be kidding me. And I was like, oh, I donate money. And, I didn't think about it at first. Before I didn't know anything. I didn't know that donating money, it's like a tax break. I didn't know that. I didn't give it a thought. And then I learned that though. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm like, I'll keep donating money. Like I like to donate. Don't get me wrong, because if you get, you should also give back. That's what I just think. But, I told my mom, I was like, yeah, I donated some money. And I was like, and you get a tax break. I was like, that's cool. She's like, I think if you should donate money, you shouldn't get a tax break. I'm thinking, what? I said, man, if that's the case, nobody would donate. I'm thinking, why do you think Walmart hounds and harasses all of us to donate money at different times of the year? Because Walmart is not going to give a dime of their money away. They take all of our money, put it all together, and then they use it as a write-off, So that's a hustle, and that's one thing I will recommend that you never do again. Me, when they ask me at the stores about donating, I always say no, and then I'm like, no, because I'm going to donate myself and get the tax write-off, and it's not being greedy. It's just, Walmart ain't going to help me out when I'm short on cash, when I'm short 5 cents at Walmart. You think they're going to pat their pockets and be like, look, Tony, you donated to the Children's Miracle Network 2 months ago, so we're gonna we're gonna give you a nickel. No, they're gonna say, your nickel out in the car, go get it. You short on money, well, take an item back. So at the end of the day, it's all that's good and well, donating to different charities at these stores, but I don't recommend you do it. I recommend if you like the charity, you can go to like Charity Navigator and look stuff up, figure out which charities are actually using your money to go to the actual people, to the donation that they say, and not just for marketing and not into people's pockets. Because unfortunately, some charities are only a setup for just people to make money, and so you have to watch this stuff. There's different organizations that you can go to and find out, which charity is legit and which ones are kind of, on the shady side. You can go to like Charity Navigator, Charity Watch, all those kind of places. But I highly recommend you learn more about taxes, even like simple stuff like you can use part of your house as a home office, so use that as a write-off. And there's all kinds of laws that you can use, because especially if you get into like real estate and all that kind of stuff, you can always, there's different things. I'm not a tax expert, but I've read a book, and I got to read it again and again and again, because the money is starting to come. The money is going to start flowing in more and more. And, I want to be able to make sure that the money I make, I want to be able to keep a majority of it. So we are going to start setting ourselves up, structurally, to make that happen. And at the end of the day, we are adults. One thing about being an adult, some people are not fully adults. Some people are like babies. They rely on people to tell them what to do. They rely on people for different things. And it's like, I remember this rapper, he went to jail for the taxes. He blamed his accountant. But at the end of the day, you hire the accountant and you have to keep up with your money. You can't just hire somebody and be like, all right, we good? No. As the great Notorious B.I.G. said, I got lawyers watching lawyers so I don't go broke. All right. So you might want to think about that. Don't depend on anybody. Always watch, man. I mean, even in marriage, I'm not saying, hey, don't trust your spouse. No, I trust my wife. I love my wife to death, but I do a lot of the financial stuff. But I also tell my wife, I say, hey, look at this, look at that, because I don't want her to be, if something happens to me, if I kill over, if I get hit by a bus, I don't want my wife to be like, I don't know. No, I don't want that. I want her to know, the basics, the ins and outs, so that way she can keep this whole machine going. You know what I mean? So that's that. Ladies and gentlemen, also before now, I'm very serious about that. Now, we joke around some of this program, but taxes and money and financial stuff, I want you to be all right. You know what I mean? I don't want you to, because I've failed a couple of times in the, like I told you before, when I had a little business, and then I got hit with that tax bill, and I was like, woo, and they was like, you got the money? And I was like, I ain't got no $7,000, $6,000, $7,000. I'm like, I ain't got that. Not to get it. Well, I ain't gonna lie, I had like half of that maybe, but I was like, I ain't trying to get y'all all my money. I was like, I'll pay you in payments. Eventually I'll pay it off, but now I would just pay it off. Now I wouldn't be so, brazen. But back then, it used to be like, nah, I'll make payments, but payments are kind of annoying. So, but yeah, I just don't want you to fall into that. I don't want you to fall into them kind of traps. When you get older and you're like, you've hit enough bumps. You know what I mean? Like, you hit enough bumps in the road, and you had enough bad things happen to you, that you see young people, and you see people younger than you, and you're like, and I used to always think, I'm like, man, old people always trying to preach, but it's not about preaching. It's really about, you're just trying to teach like the next generation, because you don't want, the same pit I fell into. I don't want you to fall into it. You know what I mean? And the same pit that my parents fell into, they didn't want me to fall into it. So, they talked to me about different stuff, and I'm like, all right, I'll avoid that, and I'll avoid this, But then I'm like, they didn't tell me about this. They didn't tell me about that. So it's every generation, like my nephew. I told my nephew, I was like, when he went to college, I said, don't get a credit card. I said, because my parents didn't tell me not to get a credit card. So I remember when I was like 18, And they was like, "Hey, would you like a credit card?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" And I was like, I'm like, and they like, "Yeah, you can just buy stuff and you ain't got to pay it back." And I'm like, "What?" And pay it back next month. And I remember I got a credit card and I went and bought like 20 CDs. Man, let me tell you something. I bought like 20 CDs. I was showing out. I ain't know what to do with myself, but it's, next month I'm like, I ain't got no money. Next month I'm like, who got money? I ain't got no money. So, you just want to avoid that kind of stuff, And now we would talk about something else. And I thought about this yesterday. I was thinking about you yesterday. And now I know sometimes when I say that, you're like, this guy don't be thinking. No, I really do be thinking about. I think about this podcast. I think about us. I think about this community. I think about this family that we are building. We are growing. Now you might not think that, but I told you, we're family. And I was outside sitting around yesterday, waiting to get unloaded. Waiting. And I'm thinking, the best part about, because I don't want you to be dependent on one income. I don't want you to be dependent on just one, And this is why, listen, all of us, some of us are going to do this online stuff full time. Some of us will. Some of us won't. And that's fine, I don't care what you do as far as, because I know there's a lot of people, and especially because I'm a black man living in America, and a lot of people that look like me, talk like me, well, not talk like me, but a lot of people that look like me, they're doing a lot of preaching about owning a business, own your own, and I say that's fine too, but the thing that I think is the most important is having enough money so that way you won't be dependent on a bank, you won't be dependent on a job. I don't want you to be dependent on anything as far especially like one income, because that could be detriment to you. Because nowadays, let's say I'll give you an example. I worked in a warehouse. I worked in the soda plant. They bottle sodas. Okay, bottle soda plant. And I remember the guy. He was like, "This is a great job. We've been around here 20 years. Blah 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 blah. You can work here. You can work here forever." And I'm like, "Okay, that's cool." And I worked there for like about a month, and the pay was pretty good. The pay was all right. Wasn't the greatest in the world. Wasn't the worst. And I thought, it's got to be more than this. And so I remember I walked. I was like, I gotta start driving trucks, because I was working these warehouse jobs before I started truck driving full time. And these warehouse jobs, they paid all right, but I'm like, there's a life shelf to this stuff. Like, this stuff is not gonna last, because I just watched my brother. He worked at the place for like 8 years, and I remember they laid him off, and they was like, "We're moving the plant to California." It was like, "No, yeah." It's like, "We're consolidating with the plant in California, so goodbye. We're packing up. See ya." And my brother was like, and they was like, "Any pay packages?" And they was like, "No pay packages. Get the hell out of here. That's it." And they shoved my brother off. And my brother, he was like, "Man, I don't know what I'm gonna do." And like, he, for a month, he was sort of in limbo, and then he got a job, But what if my brother was making money at the time? What if he had extra money that he had been making from online things, or just in general, My brother could have said, "You know what? I'm gonna take a few months off. I'm gonna figure this thing out." What if you are, let's say you are making $2,500 a month online, and all of a sudden your job lays you off? You making $2,500 a month. You don't have to go rushing for another job. You don't have to panic. You don't have to freak out. You don't have to be worried. You don't have to be anxious. You don't have to have any kind of problems like that. You can take a deep breath. You can relax, and you can say, "You know what? I've been making $2,500 a month online. Let's see if I can make more." Now I have more time on my hands, and you already been making $2,500 with the time that you have. So just imagine, you know what I mean? And so the freedom, the financial freedom that you can have from not being dependent on one thing is so beautiful, and like we all should have that, like I work now. I work 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours is the most I work now. At this job, I don't go above and beyond. I don't do. And one night the guy was like, you work like you don't need the money. I was like, it's not that. It's like I got other things that I'm doing, like I'm focused on, and that's gonna make me way more money, and make me way more happier than what this can do. Like I enjoy driving. Don't get me wrong, but it's an end point. And so for you, it's just like if you're not happy somewhere, but you're making this money online, it sort of eases the burden. You know what I mean? Like I'm all right with going in on a daily basis. I'm like, I still, I have the reasons, you know. I'm like, it's not bad. It's not as bad anymore as it was before, when I was dependent on the job. I was just dependent on it, I had money say that, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, that money's gonna run out, But now I have something that I can make money from every month, have something that money that's gonna be generating, I could be sleep. I've woken up before, and I woken up before, and you check the podcast, you check your emails. You're like, okay, open rate. People clicked on it. People bought stuff. He's like, all right, I made money while I'm sleeping. That's it's nice. People find your content when you're sleeping. That's nice. That's customers. So it's better this way than me just to be dependent on a trucking company, and then them being like, nah, we're gonna take your livelihood away. We're tired of you. We're gonna fire you today. Get out of here. Like you don't want to be dependent on anything. You don't want to be dependent on one person. You don't want to be dependent on you know, one anything really. It's sort of like I started looking into, because we're gonna start selling, courses, books, this kind of stuff, And so I was trying to learn about, because when I went to the bank and I got my business bank account, and the lady was like, "Would you like to set up a merchant account?" And at the time, I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Would you just like to set up a merchant account?" And I was like, "Nah, not yet." And she was like, "Well, let me know when you come back." And I'm like, "Okay." And I've started looking around about merchant accounts, and then I've heard these stories from these other entrepreneurs, these other internet marketers, about their merchant accounts, and they talk about how they had one, two, some people like, I got two merchant accounts. Some of them said they had three. Some people said they had 10, and they're like, the reason why you want to have more than one is because a lot of times people are ignorant to what they don't understand, and a lot of times people don't understand how you make money online. And a lot of people like to say, "Oh, this guy's," if you tell somebody I'm an internet marketer, they're gonna be like, "Wait, scam artist? What?" And if somebody is, and they can kick you off for so many reasons, there's so much sensitivity in the world, it's ridiculous now, but they could kick you off for any reason, and they'll freeze your account, and you don't want to be tied into one merchant account, and they just sort of X you out, and then you're sort of like, what am I going to do for money? No, you don't want that. And so that's the same as being dependent on one income. And also, this is why you should have more than one bank account. Because I remember when I started driving, and it was one time, because I've always had like two bank accounts, just because I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of paranoid about a lot of different stuff. Listen, I was recording the podcast, and then I accidentally hit the button. So we're going to continue on with this with this segment. So I'm sorry about that. But a lot of I'm always kind of paranoid about that kind of stuff. So I remember I was driving. I was out in somewhere out in like Nebraska, California, somewhere like that. And I remember I had a couple of bank accounts, and I remember one I tried to use a card, and it was like, card not working. And I remember, and I had to call the bank, and they said, "Oh, they froze your thing." And I'm like, "They froze my thing for what?" And it's like, "They see you make purchases in this state, that state." And I'm like, "Oh, I drive trucks." I'm like, "You got to take that off my thing because I'm out here." You know what I mean? And she was like, "Oh, okay. I'll just let them know." I'm like, "I'm on the road all the time." I said, "So take that off." But I had another card that I used at the store to get the purchase. You know what I mean? So you don't want to be dependent on one thing. You don't want to be dependent on, one item, So, and I was driving yesterday, and I had went and picked this. I had to one they gave me like 4 things to do. And I was like, I ain't in the mood to do 4. I'm gonna do 3. And I was like, they can have the other one. I'm just gonna do 3. And the reason why I can say that now is because this podcast is growing. The affiliate marketing stuff is growing. Everything's growing, and I'm making money. And don't, you know, I'm at the job now for the health insurance. I don't really need them per se to, I'm not dependent on them. I'm not. I'm I'm having out of body experience. I'm not 25 anymore, and I'm not dependent on these people. And it's nice. It's great. It's lovely. It's what I've always wanted to do. And it's, I know a lot of people are like, create your own, create this, create that. My thing is, before you create all that kind of stuff, if you can create some financial freedom, like, and I'm not saying just, you know, when I mean by financial, I mean financial breathing room. That's what I should say. Create yourself some financial breathing room. So that way, whenever you do want to start really honing in on your skill, honing in on this whole, creating a business, creating something for yourself. Money will not be, because money problems in general block us from from achieving true greatness. That we are trying to do. Like, how can you write a book if you're over here thinking about, man, what am I gonna eat, man? I'm starving. I ain't got no money. Blah blah blah. Like, you know, I remember Sylvester Stallone. He's told a great story about how he was broke and he had to sell his dog and all this kind of stuff, to, you know, keep things going, And yeah, that's great. But that was a different time. Life was cheaper back then, Life is kind of expensive now. So you want to have some kind of financial breathing room so that way you can do. Let's say if you want to write a book. Let's say if you really want to write like a romance novel or something like that. I like romance. So I just said that one. But let's say you wanted to write a romance novel and it's going to take 6 months. You have 6 months worth of income already lined up, backed up, and so you're just writing, you're just flowing. It's great because you don't have to worry about it, And the less you are dependent on things, the less you're dependent on, one income, the better off you will be. The more flowing, the more free you will feel. It's a great feeling, and that's the feeling that you want. And you will be able to build your business. It's like it's like I heard this guy say his uncle told him, he said he was like he's in desperate need of a car, and he's like, the best time to buy a car, and he's like, when? He's like, when you don't need one. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Nothing worse than your car broke down and you're like, oh, I just need a car bad. I don't really care. And they're like, the interest is gonna be 20%. You're like, whatever, I don't care. Just give me the car. I need it, unfortunately. But if you go in there and you're like, 20%, nah, lower that. And make my interest 2%. I'm like, okay. And so, the more independent you are about everything, and that's why we talked about taxes, and that's why we talked about, you don't want to be a baby, There's 40-year-old babies, you don't want to be a 40-year-old baby, you don't want to be a 44-year-old baby, you don't want to be a baby, you want to be independent, you want to be able to control your life, control your destiny, and the more you're able to do that, the better off you will be. It's sort of like going to the bank and I going to the bank and ask for a loan. This is where I want to get in life. I want to get to the point in life where I don't go to the bank for car loans. I don't go to the bank for anything. And like, want to be free of all that, because the banks try to hold any kind of, especially, I hate to say it, but it is what it is. But there's racism and it's real, and it's not even like blatant racism. It's not like they're being racist on purpose, but it's just a fact. Like, as 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 a black man, I could go, I could have good credit and still get the runaround from a bank. You know what I mean? And it's just, it is what it is, And for me, I'm like, F that. I don't even want to put myself in that situation. So I'm going to, and I heard a guy that I watch on YouTube, and he's like, create your own bank. And I was like, man, you know what? That does sound pretty impressive. And I was like, I think I would do that. Not try. I was gonna say try, but I think I would do that. He talked about building your own bank, building your own family bank. And I was like, that is true independence. That is true freedom. And I was like, I'm going to get to that point in my life where I'm that way. So I didn't want to be dependent on anybody, you know. And I'm not saying that banks are racist or anything like that, but there's been studies, there's been, stories, there's just facts, and it's neither here nor there, and I don't really care, at this point. It is what it is. But I'm going to, and I don't give a damn what nationality, what race you are, I hope that you would find your own freedom and your own independence from any kind of like banks and all that kind of stuff, because it's getting worse. And it doesn't matter like what side of the fence you're on as politic wise. Like, I don't know about you, but during COVID, you see who gets the squeeze? Us, the people, the little people, small businesses, us, the workers of the world, small businesses. We all get the squeeze out. It doesn't matter what race you are, what nationality you are. How can Jeff, and I mean, and hey, listen, I buy a lot of products. I buy a lot of products from Amazon. I bought a lot of books from Amazon. I probably bought 70% of my books from Amazon. So I have no room to, I have no problem with the guy. But the guy has like tripled his worth since the COVID, And you think Sally Sue down at the restaurant tripled her income during the pandemic? Of course not. So this is why I'd say, don't be dependent, don't be a baby, be independent, and I mean full independence, not just, hey, I'm an adult, I'm 18, I'm 19. No, generate your own income, generate a lot of income, generate income from different places. You don't need 20, you don't need 30, you don't need 7. I mean, if you can get more than, if you can get a lot of different streams, fine. But in the beginning, do one, do two, start from there. Just don't be dependent on one. Try to get two, get one going strong, get another one going, build off that, and build up your own little nest egg. So that way, when you go, because the best kind of it's like when you go to the car dealership and you already have a check, from a credit union, and they're like, well, we can do this, and you're like, hey, listen, man, I got the check right here, man. I don't need all this BS from y'all. And I'm not saying that they're wrong, I mean, car dealerships, they're in it to make money too, everybody's in it to make money. I'm not knocking anybody, but it's just how it is. But for you and for me, the more leverage that we have, the better off we will be. And that's it. We want leverage. I want you to have leverage. The person that has the leverage is the person that's in control. And I want you to be in control of your situation. And not everybody's going to be in control of their situation, but you and we're going to be in control of our situation. So what we're going to do is you're going to get more than one income. You're going to create some money, save up some money, make sure you're saving money and all that good stuff. And that way you can tell people, I come to work when I want to, come to work because I feel like it, not because I have to. And, you want to go down there and get a car? Boom, here's the money. Get out of my face. No interest rate, no nothing, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this financial episode of the online marketing moves. But we have to talk about finances because sometimes it needs to be discussed, all right? And that's it. That's it for the podcast. My name is Tony Rizzano. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Sorry about the delay in the other one, but I hit that button and it was just nothing I could do about it at that point. But that's it. My name is Tony Rizzano. Thank you for listening. And as always, everybody, peace.